Hello and welcome to the second in a series of kitefoiling experience videos that we're running with people who have an interesting story to tell from that discipline in the sport. Our second interviewee is Ellie Aldridge, a member of the British kite racing team, who is hoping to appear at the Olympics when kite racing makes its debut at Paris 2024. Ellie's story is really interesting because she could barely kite in October 2018, but she took part in a programme started by the BKSA and the RYA called Kite For Gold that was looking for British talent to make up the kite racing team. She already had an Olympic campaign underway in the 49er FX category, but she took the brave decision to pretty much start again in kite racing, a faster and more exciting fleet potentially in her eyes. Fast forward a couple of seasons and Ellie already has an individual title to her name, and she won the mixed relay Europeans with Conor Bainbridge last year as well. I wanted to hear about her accelerated kite foiling experience. I caught up with Ellie, who was at the event site at Hangloose Beach ahead of the 2021 Kitefoil World Series event in Italy. So you came into kiting pretty late. I wanted to know a bit more about your background. So could you kite before October 2018? Were you already kiting or not?
Yeah. I was already kiting, but very much just for fun.
In the UK, when kite racing was announced it was going to be in the Olympics, we had a lot of choice of male competitors. It was quite a competitive scene, but although there were a lot of competitive and professional women kite surfers, none were really into racing. So Kite For Gold campaign was launched. You didn't have to be in kiting, but I guess the prerequisite was you had to show some competitive spirit, some experience of international competition. But there was wakeboarders and snowboarders, and so it made a real noise, didn't it? Kite surfing.
Yeah, it was really cool to see lots of people from different backgrounds and different sports. And then they selected, I think, 20 girls to go through sort of a trials process where we all kind of learned to kite, or they separated it into people that could kite surf and couldn't kite surf. They taught the people that couldn't how to kite surf.
Okay.
And then the rest of us just sort of learned basic surfboard skills, like how to tack and jive and things like that.
What have you found most challenging then? Because it seems like you weren't really fazed by starting something new, and I'm guessing that's because you've got loads of race experience. So do you think, is the race experience obviously as important, if not more, than the basic kite skills?
I think the race experience has allowed me to sort of jump levels of learning to kite foil. I think as soon as I got to a point where I could tack and jive and I was reasonably fast enough to keep up with other people, I had a sort of basic understanding of racing, or quite a high level of understanding of racing, that I could just think a bit faster than, I guess, a lot of people that hadn't done racing before. It's
really amazing. I think that just race experience helps, because this, practically having such long lines and being in a close race course with so many other racers is completely different to being in a dinghy boat, surely.
Yeah, it is, but the fundamentals are exactly the same. There's obviously, like line length and how close you are to other people and things like that. That's very different. That is definitely something that you can only gain from experience in just racing, like kite racing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of the sort of around the race course, what you're going to do when other people do certain things is exactly the same as sailing, just faster.
So from your perspective, well, first of all, I wanted to ask, are you a high performance sailor, or are you a kiter now?
That's a very good question. I guess it depends who you'd ask. If you'd ask a sailor, they'd say no, you're a kiter.
Yeah, right, true.
And if you asked a freestyle kiter, they'd say no, you're more of a sailor.
And in terms of the sensations of hydrofoiling, then, what is it that you really enjoy about it?
I guess the speeds is a big thing. Just how fast you're going around people, and I guess the sort of unspoken confidence you have about the people around you. You kind of just have to trust that they're not going to fall in next to you. I think I quite like that, and just how how changeable it is. It's at a level now where you can't make mistakes. Everyone has to race perfectly, and if you don't race perfectly, you're not in the race.
How difficult is the gear that you're riding? I mean, I guess you had to progress. So in 2 years, more or less, you've probably gone, you probably had to step back and at least I hope went to some kind of beginner equipment. You didn't just jump straight onto race kit, did you? How much more difficult is the gear now, and how unforgiving?
Yeah, so I guess I started on a Moses Fluente foil, like a sort of beginner cruisy foil, which is really nice. Now we're on sort of more race foils. You just have to do everything really fast, and actually they're a lot more smoother than the beginner foils when you're going fast. So I think they're actually easier to use. You just have to be going fast.
Where do you think is your most exciting part of the race course then? Because we watched the blasts to line, there's the technical bits of choosing your point, your lay lines when you're going upwind. Which bits do you really enjoy, and can you kind of put us in your shoes when you're going around the course?
I'd say the most hectic parts of the race, or the most exciting, where you can win or lose the most, is off the start line, and at the lay line to the windward mark. So when you're approaching the windward mark, that's probably the craziest part. So you quite often have a big split in the fleet off the start line. Quite a few people will tack out early and be on the starboard lay line whilst the rest of the fleet are approaching on port. So there's quite often, because everyone's so close together in speed, there's quite often a big sort of, not pile up, but it's quite technical to get through people or like get on the lay line properly. I think that's where you can, especially on the first lap, that's where you can win or lose the whole race.
Yeah. How many people will you have on some of the bigger starts?
So there's nearly 100 people in this event. Last time we were here 2 years ago, there was, I think, 85 entries and there was one start line.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest they've had.
Cool. And how excited are you about the Olympics in general? Because for us as kiteboarders, I mean, you know, it's mixed in terms of what people think about it. In other sports, it's probably more controversial. In kitesurfing, I think everyone's pretty happy about it. But as of 3 years ago, you know, there wasn't really a hope of it happening. And now you're sat there as one of the leading contenders, not only for the UK, but to win a medal probably as well. So how excited are you about that?
I think it's really good. Obviously, I come from sailing, so the Olympics is kind of always my goal anyway. But I think it's great to bring lots of people into sport. Like you see, before 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there weren't many female fighters in kite racing. I think you'd get sort of 4 or 5 entered at some events, and now there's like 40, 50, which is really, or even more than that. So I think it's really good for the sport just to build it and build the awareness of it around the world, get more people involved in it. I think it's really cool, and it's something really big and great to aim for as well.
All right, well, good luck for the week. Thanks very much for taking the time to do this.
Oh, yeah, thank you. That's right.